Above your favorite ballpark. It's in the booth. What's going on, Black Baseball Mixtape family? Hobo Boys here with you in a very special presentation. Special presentation for a bunch of reasons we'll get into today. I mean, look, if you haven't checked out the In the Booth podcast, you are missing out. Part of the Black Baseball Mixtape family. Whatever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. But this way in here, it's one of one. But to start off with that, to even prove it's a special episode, I'm being joined by the Grand Poobah himself, the guy who started the whole thing, EBM, luminary and visionary dignitary. Cheats, come on, man. What's going on, man?
I don't know about these nicknames. I listen to every In the Booth episode. I listen to everyone. And everyone, it feels like there's a different nickname or reference to what we're doing here. But nah, man, this is overdue, man. I'm excited, and it is special. Like, we're only gonna get together if it's like a special joint In the Booth, BBM, like Voltron. It's like Voltron.
Absolutely.
Or
and
like
I'm glad you get that reference.
I'm like the red Power Ranger, and you are the Mets Power Ranger.
How'd you go from Voltron to Power Rangers? That's two different.
I don't know. It's like they form, like, right? Doesn't
right.
both Voltron and Metro?
That's like 10 years apart, though. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with this.
Big episode. We're going to speak with Coach Rouselle in just a minute, but I got to say, big shout out to those folks over at the Players Alliance and Minority Prospects for their continued support of not only In the Booth, Black Baseball Mixtape in general. And I got to give a little bit of a special shout out to Numbers Game Scorecards. Look, the Mets are going to win the World Series this year, so I want to make sure I got it down in writing. So I went to numbersgame.co, got my official, look at that, Black Baseball Mixtape official scorecard, because I want to learn too. And you can get this over at numbersgame.co. Put in Black Baseball Mixtape singular for a discount. That's because the Cheats makes the wheels and deals, baby. Gotta use that promo code to get yourself something.
Well, look, I'm excited. We do wheel and deal every once in a while, and we've got some brand new things that we're really, really excited about. And one of them is that the Black Baseball Mixtape is on Substack for, I want to say, the first time ever. So we've been up for, this will be year 4. We launched it this month, and it is really an opportunity for anyone that has supported us in the platform or will like new subscribers to support us as well. Please consider checking out the Substack. We are going to make, in the next couple of weeks and months, we're going to make it as easy as possible for you to subscribe, whether it's for free or paid. And Flobo, I think I can break some news on this episode.
What?
Very limited, but it is some news that'll be broken. Very limited special gift for subscribers, paid subscribers for the Substack. Wow. In the terms of merch. That's right. Whoa. There will be some Black Baseball Mixtape, I want to say t-shirts and hoodies going on sale, but there are not a lot of them. And if you subscribe to the Substack while supplies last, it might be yours at a very, very reduced, if probably free cost.
While supplies last. That's the
there's not that many of them.
So act now, yo. Act now.
Act now.
So let's get into brass tacks, man. So I woke up today and I was like, man, I'm a certain age, and even though I had dreams of playing baseball, I told myself I was just too old to play.
Yeah.
But my guest today said, no, it don't matter how old you are, as long as you got the desire and intent. Here is an individual that went into JUCO baseball at the age of 40 and didn't play. And I got to know what that was, what that story was to lead up to that, and the background. So forget all that further ado. Let's special our special guest, Coach Aaron Rouselle. Thank you so much, Rouselle. Thanks for joining us today on the Black Baseball Mixtape and in the booth.
I'm too busy clapping to bring him in, but now I'm bringing him in because I was too busy clapping for
him. I was clapping up, man. First of all, happy birthday, man.
I appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
How many candles? Can I ask you how many candles?
41 this year, 41 trips.
Yeah, man.
Blessed to see every one of them too, man. It's truly a blessing to be here.
Absolutely. And thanks for being on the show, because we were talking to us before you went live. Like you had some plans, but you made sure to be here today, and I appreciate it with you. But let's get into brass tacks, man. We were talking about the idea of playing baseball. And on many episodes of Black Baseball Mixtape, I would say, oh man, I'm old, my back. But no, I think the reason I came across your story is that you were playing ball at 40. So
Yeah.
even before even get into the background, how that even come about?
Um. So I just love the game. I gave it up young to play basketball because it was just fed my ego more. And as I got older, my son got really into baseball. And then I opened up a facility. It was a nonprofit because I just want to mentor kids. I want to help them not make the mistakes I made. And then I was like, what better way to lead by example instead of telling them what they need to do to get there? Why not just show them? I had eligibility. I'm alive, so let's just give it a shot. And thankfully, I had a friend, Coach Ryan Hunter, who was rebuilding the program at Delaware County Community College, and he said, if you can do the work, you can be on the team. And I did the work, and I was able to play a little bit.
Now hold on. There's having the idea, right? And there's actually doing. And your network, your family, your friends, they were like, "Go for it." Was it like, "Are you crazy?" It was like, "Nah. What's going on?" Like, was it a sudden decision? Was it when you made over time?
They all think I'm nuts. They all think I'm
Okay.
crazy.
Okay.
Um, there was, I mean, everyone supports me. It's, I really do have a beautiful network of people around me, and I'm at a position in my life to where I could make, baseball a priority. I wanted to do it before my son started high school because, you know, it'd be selfish of me to play that much when he's also playing that much. So it's kind of like now or never. And I'm a big believer in the man upstairs, and I truly believe his timing's perfect. And you get the idea, and then it doesn't go away, and then you're like, okay, let's give it a shot. And then you get in the gym, and you start to feel a little bit better. You start moving a little more. You're like, okay, yeah, like I can do this. And I didn't play a lot, but I played.
Yeah.
Like was and it's just a beautiful opportunity, and like I couldn't have done it without my support system and my family and everyone around me. But at the same time, there was people that told me there's no way, and like that's something you should never tell me because I'm going to show you there is a way.
Yeah. The best motivation is spite motivation.
Yeah, it's not tell me what I can't do, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Is kind of the way I looked at it because there's a lot of people, and like I'm not very good at baseball. Um,
He better me. I don't know why.
What? Continue on.
Compared to other sports, I do better in other things. Like I'm more of a basketball, football player skill wise. But I think that's what drew me to baseball is like the challenge of it. I mean, I went from playing my whole life till I moved to Maryland in 1997. So I was like 12, 13. And then I just gave it up, started playing basketball and didn't pick up another baseball bat until probably, well, when I started turning 30. We just tried to get in the over 30 league. I started getting back into baseball, and I was about to play over 30, but that's when my liver failed. So I never got to play in the first season of my like adult baseball career because I was fighting for my life. So it's just like I don't know. It's been a very challenging thing, but I think that's the beauty of baseball. It is very, very challenging.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about your health in just a quick real second. But when you were trying to get back and ramp yourself up into doing baseball at that level, did you have to like reintroduce yourself to the game? Did you try different positions, or just went back to what you knew? Like what does the mental side of that thing look like?
But that's what was the easiest part for me. Like I consider myself a pretty mentally strong person, so that really helped the physical side of baseball. And like being a coach for so long, no disrespect to this younger generation, but they don't really play with a high IQ. They rely heavily on athleticism, and though my athleticism faded, my IQ was significantly higher. So I was able to kind of level the playing field that way. And that really was just it. Like I was there more so like just as the mental side of me is very strong. So I knew how to like I have a degree in exercise science, so I also knew like the physical side of things. So it's just like everything just lined up perfectly to make this happen, and it did, and I'm glad it did. And I'm also a little bit glad that I'm not playing anymore because it was hard. Like my body thanks me every day.
That's what I'm worried about, right? Because it's like I'm older than you, Coach. I'm older than you, but when I do anything athletic, if I do anything athletic, and it probably happened around that 40th age. Now, again, you're in great shape. I'm completely overweight, and I'm not active like that, but I used to be. And so if I go out with my son and I'll play, like if I play a hoops game and we get a little competitive, I'm trying to go hard. It's not that day where I can't play. It's the next 4 days
Oh,
where
absolutely.
where I can't. Right, it's the next 4 days where I can't get up. I can't move around. Like You know what I mean? That's when I'm sore and I got the neck pain and the back pain. How did you physically prepare yourself, especially like you mentioned, we'll get into the health stuff a little bit later, but how did you physically prepare yourself for not the first day, maybe not even the first week, but a full baseball season where there's some physical grind there?
I got really familiar with my gas pedal. I knew when to push it and I knew when to coast. And it's just, as you get older, you get a little more wise. When you're young, you redline the whole time.
Mm,
If I would have tried to redline, I would have buried myself.
mm,
So I just got really good at knowing my throttle and knowing, when to push and when not to push. And thankfully, I was always very transparent with the coaching staff. And I knew when my body couldn't go, and they were very like helpful to that. Like another beautiful part of it was my teammates. They would make my life as easy as possible. I was kind of nervous about that going into it. They're kids that are my daughter's age. Like I have a
right.
daughter who was a freshman in college when I'm playing as a freshman in college on the baseball world. So I was kind of like, are they gonna like be welcoming to me, or I'm just gonna be some old dude who's taking a spot to them? But you would have thought I was just their big brother. Even to
Mm,
this day, there's teammates that reach out to me when they need a help or a hand, and they're constantly showing love. They really they made sure that I was okay all the time. Like if I carried my bag every time, but if I was like, yo, can you grab this for me? They would have always done it with a smile on their face. Man, it was truly a blessing to be around so many great young men.
that's fantastic.
I mean, you're a coach too, Cheats. I mean, is it true about the IQ play with the ones you do coach? Is it
I'm a
kind of like,
coach of 9, 10, 11-year olds.
hey, a coach is a coach is a coach is a coach is a
I'm just
coach.
trying to keep them. Look, I'm trying to keep them focused and in a ready position. But no, I mean, look. I really think that the team. So professional baseball, especially Major League Baseball, and you see it, Flobo. You follow the game
Mhm.
as closely as anyone. More strikeout numbers, more home runs, more feast or famine, if you will. And what's changed less bunts, right? Until the last 2 years since they changed the rule, less steals, less athleticism in some ways. Um, I think it is very, very hard to be a fundamental first baseball team in Major League Baseball, based off of where they judge analytics. Those kids don't just show up in the major leagues. They're being taught since they're my son's age, who's 11 now, and who plays travel ball. They're being taught that level of baseball. So if you're a power hitter at the age of 11 and you're playing 11U travel team, you're not going to bunt.
Mm-mm.
You're not gonna do the fundamental things, right? Now if you're a slick fielding infielder, you may do a little bit more of that type of thing. I say all that to say the game itself has transformed itself into a game that is like less small ball, less intelligent. And you saw it this year. We watched it and tracked it very closely. The teams that were able kind of to execute on those little things, like the Blue Jays, they wind up being like this anomaly in the playoffs, right? And everybody's like, oh, the Blue Jays don't strike out nearly as much. They run the bases really well. They play, you know what I mean? And they wind up going to the World Series. Um, so yeah, I think coach is exactly right in regards to the fundamentals especially at the highest level. But I think it's because what coach is mentioning, you just don't see it as much. Now, with that said, I will say this with one caveat, and I'll let you weigh in on it as well, Coach. Coach was playing at the JUCO level, right? And I think with teams and players that are less 5-star, less four, like LSU is going to be that in Major League Baseball level, right? Texas is going to be that Major League Baseball level. They're not going to tell their power hitting, you know, third batter center fielder to lay down a bunt. And JUCO, I think you would probably see a little bit more small ball, a little bit more fundamentals, because everybody's not a 5-star, 4-star like athlete recruit. You know what I mean? Guy that's going to be putting it out there every day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. JUCO is like it's a very wild place because you'll face a guy throwing in the 90s, and then the next guy that comes in, he's throwing junk at like 75. But you do run into teams that are small balling it, bunting, moving runners. Very like base running is a very big element of the JUCO level. And I think a lot that has to do with it. Without like, there's not a lot of high quality catchers. Like not to be like it. I mean, it just is what it is. If you're a really good catcher, you're not going to JUCO.
No.
is because it's such a sought after position for someone who can kind of control the game that way. And you see it a lot in at the JUCO level. If you're not getting your pitcher strikes, you're hurting your team significantly. It's literally the difference, like in many games, is between the difference in walks and strikeouts is how good is your catcher. So at the JUCO level, you don't get a lot of outside of like the top 25 teams, and like there's certainly some JUCOs out there that have the quality, but for the most part, you got a lot of kids that just like really love baseball, and they're either just straight up knuckleheads or they're uncoachable because their travel ball coach let them get away with everything. So they never really learned how to be coachable. That was a big issue with our team is like they were good kids, but they were just loose cannons. Really just entitled brats for the most part. And I mean, and these are all things that I've said to them multiple times because if I bite my tongue, it's only going to hurt myself. And I'm just thankful none of them tried to fight me because I'm too old for that. But but it's a JUCO. You get such a wide variety of baseball, and you really never know what. Like we played the number one team in the nation, and they brought their third string team to play us, and they were worlds better than us as backups to backups. And we're also a new team that was rebuilding, but it's just JUCO's a wild place, and you do have you. I'd be willing to bet if you look up the stats, there's a very high strikeout rate. But I think it's because a lot of guys are at JUCO because they're playing for themselves. They're trying to get that 4-year school to see them, so they're coming out of their shoes every swing. They'll have a runner on second with nobody out, and they'd rather strike out than hit a ground ball to the right side to move a runner over or do anything that's going to benefit the team. A lot of kids are playing for themselves, and I mean you even see it at the high school level. How many times do you hear kids say, they'll get 10 runs, but they're like, oh, I don't care. I was 2 for 3. You know what I mean? Like, and like for the programs and the kids that I coach, if I ever hear that, like you might as well pack it up. Like you're not a part of us. Because I think that's the mindset we need to get away from is like, it's not me, it's we. And like, we have to learn to be successful together. And I think that's a big element of baseball that's missing is like just the game's played very selfishly.
I'm with you 100%. It's we versus me. But okay, so you just said JUCO was kind of the wild west, right? Skill levels were over there, personalities were over there. You jump in the pool, you get your body right to play, and you're on the team, and you're a team that respects you, or at least treats you with respect. Is there for you at this point? Is there a goal? Is it kind of like, oh, I just want to finish the season, or is it like, hey, I want to see if I can do it, or is it kind of like you get there and it changes? Like, what is that like when you get on the uniform, on the pitch, on the field?
So every step of the way, the goal kind of changes. Like you always reset that standard once you reach, first goal was to get offered the spot on the team. And then it was, get through the fall healthy. I didn't have any playing expectations come fall. I just wanted to get through it healthy, which I was kind of able to do. I missed a good bit of the fall because I had pneumonia. Well, they thought I had pneumonia, but come to find out, my facility had a lot of mold in there, and there was mold growing in my lungs. So I was like, we'd be running polls, and I'm like dying, and I'm like, guys, like I'm in good shape. Like this isn't normal. And they just kept saying, no, probably have pneumonia, And then they finally scoped my lungs, and like, oh well, now you have mold growing in your lungs. Like, where have you been? I'm like, oh, probably because of this. And then I was able to remedy that issue, and then come spring, it was more so okay. Like, I want to play a game. I just want to put together a quality at bat. And so then I was able to do that. I don't even remember how many at bats I had, but I ended up hitting like it wasn't many, probably less than 10, but I ended up hitting 300, and no one can ever take that from me. Mm. My fielding percentage is 1,000 and very little limited opportunities. I played a little bit of first base. Originally, like I'm an outfielder, but I developed shingles years ago, and I have no feeling in my left leg, so like running's a challenge for me. So I couldn't run to be successful to the level of my expectations. So I stuck to the infield, just a little bit less sprinting. So I got my at bats. I actually ended up making the all academic team for the conference too. So like, just I couldn't ask for a better way to end it. I would like to have us win a little more. I think, but we won more games than they won previously. I think we only won like 5 or 6 games, but that was a significant improvement. So everything, like it just, every time I set a goal, I was able to meet it and then raise the bar. And I ended the season very happy to where I could kind of check that off my bucket list to say I was a college baseball player and not be, no asterisk with it. Like I played college baseball and no one can take that from me.
Coach, so there's just so much to talk about in the sense that obviously you'd mentioned you're an individual that's rooted in faith. You're obviously focused on leadership. You coached the game as well, and you made this goal for yourself and achieved it. When you now step back today and you'll talk to a high school team or a college team and you have this resume of all that you've been through, but you're always a forward thinking individual, what is your overall message? Is it about like, I'm sure it's not necessarily just about X's and O's of baseball. It has to be even more about like life and perseverance and like achieving your dreams no matter what is going on and receiving that call. How do you talk to young people that are looking at you for that level of inspiration or motivation?
It's exactly what you said. I tell them, find what you love and do it with everything you have. Like, don't wait till you're old and live with regret. Like, there's so many peers and so many people that I talk to on a regular basis that are just like, they're not as happy as they could be because they never chase their dreams.
Hmm.
And like these kids, I tell them, like the way I explain it to them is like, your window of opportunity is wide open. Instead of sitting there playing Minecraft and 2K and like building up your road to the show player, jump out that window of opportunity and build your real player. The road to the show is always going to be there, but if you really want to make it to the show, you got to hit the road and put in the work, and like stop waiting for your friends to do it with you. And I think that's the biggest thing that holds people back, especially young people, is they're always waiting for someone to go with them. And what I've learned in my life, if you don't go alone, you're probably not ever going to go. So like, excuse me, whatever, don't let anyone put limitations on you. You know what you're capable of, and you're never going to reach that if you don't learn to believe in yourself. People ask me all the time what I coach, and I tell them I coach confidence, because when you can get someone to believe in themselves, they're capable of so many things, but also at the same time, they're less likely to get themselves in trouble because they're not just going with the crowd and doing what everyone else is doing. When you feel something in your gut, you stand on that. And like, for me personally, like I almost went to prison because I didn't trust my gut, and I was doing, hanging out with some people that were doing knucklehead things. And I just went with the flow. And so now I tell them only dead fish go with the flow. Sometimes you got to swim upstream and go alone.
Powerful stuff, man. Like I like that because a lot of times you think about when I was a kid and how my life gonna go so many different ways. You're like, well, what will people think if I did this? Whatever. I'll play Minecraft. Oh, I was before Minecraft. You get to upset.
No, I know
That Oregon Trail.
Yeah, that Oregon Trail, man, seductive.
great game though.
Yeah, real classic. I was getting a whip of those days. But so you just teased about this, like you were with the knucklehead crowd, and that moment when you had your reckoning. When did you decide to jump out your own window and said, "I'm going to do my own thing"? Like, when did you realize to break away from that pack?
When I was standing in that federal courtroom with a bunch of murderers and serious criminals, and I'm like, this is not who I am. I think that was the most afraid I've ever been in my life because I was powerless to the situation. My entire life, I've been able to skate by with just very limited effort. I live in an area where if you're naturally gifted, not a lot of coaches are going to challenge you and push you to be better because they almost want to be your friend more than they want to like push you to be better. So I kind of just skated by and like I was always able to get by. But that was the first time in my life I really like, my drop dead good looks or my personality or my athletic ability is not going to get me out of this one. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I was able to get out of there without getting in any trouble. But I think it's because in that moment and talking to that judge, I just gave him a speech about how this was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because it helped me realize who I am and the things that I did the second I got in trouble. I started mentoring. I started working at a rehab facility. I got back into school and started pursuing personal training. I really started doing things with passion and not, essentially stopped chasing paper, started chasing passion. Passion is probably the easiest way to put it.
That's crazy. That's a crazy story. And again, you didn't tell us, but around what age was this? What age were you standing in that courtroom?
Oh, I see. It's 2013, 2012. So I was 27, 26.
So at that point,
Old enough to know better.
I was gonna say at that point, had you stopped playing hoops? Because I do want to get to two things. One, you had mentioned you were a better basketball player than you were a baseball player, and then you also mentioned, obviously a major health challenge at the age of 30, but maybe some things before that. Talk to me really about just the hoop part of it, when that stopped, and then like when you started to like your life started to change for
I was big into basketball up until I got sick at 30. My goal when I turned 30 was to be in the best shape of my life. I played in a pro-am basketball league in Wilmington, Delaware, and won MVP. I averaged 20 and 20. And I'm only about 6'3", but I had a CrossFit gym at that time now. So I was in pretty good shape and like very aggressive. So I was able to do really well. And I was probably at the peak athletically for myself. Um, but then that's when, 6 months later, that's when I got really sick. So I mean, basketball, I probably had an unhealthy relationship with basketball. I mean, there was times where I was like, I would take my son who was, maybe 4 or 5 at the time, and he would just sit on the bench while I'm playing. And you look back on that and you're like, that's kind of selfish. Thankfully, he's a really good kid. But I would, even my oldest daughter, she's 20 now, but I remember playing football and, I wouldn't play as much, but when they needed a big play, we would call it third and Aaron because they knew they could put me in the game and we would make something happen. So I'd hang out with my daughter and then I'd be like, okay, here, take her. I need to go play real quick. And then, but that was just me being selfish and I was still living for myself. But then the sickness happened at 30 after, I was at the peak. But I think, God had me get in the shape I was in because he knew what he was about to throw me through. And I went from the mountaintop to the bottom of the ocean in the matter of a weekend. It's insane how lucky I am to be here and how quickly things went bad.
And that was, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 1 or 2 liver transplants?
I've had 2. That was my first one when at 30.
Okay. And then that was just a whole different fight. And at this point, it didn't sound like maybe you were. Were you as kind of mentally prepared for that fight as you sound? Like now today, it's easy to look back and say, mentally I'm in a really good place. But at that time, you were like you said, you were hooping, you were doing like how did you mentally get through what could be like obviously one of the more challenging parts of your life?
I slept through most of it. The doctors, there's audio of it. The doctors telling my family straight up, like, I'm not going to live through this. The fact that I even got a liver transplant it was the first emergency transplant ever done in Maryland. I just had cancer before that, so they didn't even want to give me the transplant because they weren't sure I didn't have cancer. So my oncologist had to go to the University of Maryland in Baltimore to convince them to even give me the liver, and the whole stack was against me. And I slept through all that, but then when I finally started coming to, it's when I really got to the darkest point of everything because up until that point, all I knew was sports. And for a while, I couldn't play sports, but then I also rushed myself back into sports because I thought that's what everyone expected me to do. That's what I wanted to do. That's all I knew. And they have the transplant games, so I was able to compete in that and do pretty well. But I was in a very, very dark place after my first transplant. It was, my son's mom, who I'm, with again today, we broke up for over a year because I couldn't handle anything. Like I was not in a good place at all.
And then, so sorry, Flobo. I just because I don't want to change subjects when you were saying there because clearly you're not there now. So
No, sir.
How did you get from that low to maybe slowly, maybe rapidly? How did you build up to the person that we see today?
I had another transplant. I was kind of just going through the motions and I started doing some mentoring and I was doing like basketball clinics. I got back into playing adult baseball, wasn't playing much because after that first transplant, being an emergency transplant, it wasn't a perfect match. So for the next 5 years, I spent more time in the hospital than I would at home. And then in 2018, I got really, really sick to where for the next, about 2 years, I was sleeping about 20 hours a day. I was 120 pounds and still trying to, thinking that was normal, but I was in really bad shape, but I was just ignoring it all. I was just still trying to be me, still trying to coach, still trying to do things, throwing up everywhere I go. It was really bad, but I didn't want to face it. And it was just progressively getting worse. And then to the point where I was on the way, I was, I had a foot in the grave. And by the grace of God, I get that call in 2020 to, that they found a match because they straight up told me after my first transplant, they said, this is good enough. You might get 5 years out of this. And that it almost was 5 years to the day. It was 2 months or a month before my 5-year anniversary for my transplant is when I got my second transplant. So so I was just like, I never really healed mentally and emotionally and even spiritually until that second transplant.
Yeah, I think you had mentioned a lot of other things happening concurrently before, after as well. This history, the cancer diagnosis, the mold in the lungs, the shingles. I mean, it
Bro,
could weigh a lot on
crazy,
anyone. I mean,
crazy.
the fact you didn't give up, and
Yeah.
thankfully you were a man that walks by faith. But like, when someone hears your story, I know you don't. I know you don't expect people to quote unquote feel sorry for you, but like, what do you say to someone who goes, "Oh man, I heard your story. I can't believe you did this." Like, do people come with like an angle of curiosity? Is it kind of like inspire me too, bro? Like, what what do people say when they hear your story?
I think a lot of people are very inspired by me. Like, not a lot of people will tell me because I like in the world that I live in, like a lot of people perceive me as arrogant, but I'm really just very confident in who I am. Um, but like I mean, I get 20, 30 messages a week about someone saying, I was going through this and I thought of your story and like it helped me. And when I tell people often, like I would kind of discredit everything I went through. I was like, if you had to face this, you would get through it too, because what choice do you have? But then the more you get to know people, I stopped discrediting myself because not everyone would be able to do what I have done with the mindset that I have. So I take a lot of pride and honor in the man that I am, but it's also very humbling because I also know how quickly everything can change, and I think it's just another part of my purpose is like I'm meant to lead. Um but in order to lead, you have to be willing to be led. And for a long time I wasn't allowing myself to be led. So it's been a shift, but I think a lot of people are inspired by me, especially like if you like the amount of kids that I don't even coach that call me coach and like have reached out to me today to tell me happy birthday really boggles my mind, and I'm so grateful for that. I get a lot of resistance from some parents because I coach very loud. There's not a lot of people who look like me in my neighborhood. If you Google the town that I live in, the first few things that pop up will probably be me and something race motivated.
Mm.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, even last Saturday, I was coaching a basketball game at a church league, and they told me I wasn't being disrespectful, wasn't being anything besides coaching basketball. And when you coach basketball, you got to be vocal. And he told me to calm down. We don't coach like that around here. And I just looked at the man. I said, no, like I'm trying to teach these boys how to compete. And I'd be willing to bet like I won't be coaching there much longer. But I also I want these kids to understand, like, don't let people silence you. I wasn't being disrespectful to anyone. The referees actually came up to me after the game, said, "Coach, that was the most fun we've had refereeing a game in a long time." But I just think because I'm so different and I'm not ashamed of who I am, I'm not ashamed of what I've been through, I'm not ashamed of what I've done, and I can do more with less than people who have access to more can do.
Mm.
But I think it's because there's nothing in this world material wise that gives me power or has power over me, to where I think a lot of people look to things as a sign of like strength and even like what makes them feel like a man. I think in America we don't have any transition from boy to man, and I think there's a lot of adults who never really became men who hide behind certain things they can purchase or titles they have at work to claim to be men when they're not being men because they're not leading these young men in any type of way besides bullying them. And I think that we have a big problem with that. And I'm not going to be quiet about it. And I don't think a lot of them like it, but I also don't care. I'm not here to please any other person. I'm here to do what I believe God has sent me here to do. And it is what it is. Like, they can't stop me.
Yeah,
So
so I'm glad you mentioned this because you're not the first person that I've had a chance to speak with about the role of men today or boys as they come of age today. I mean, on one hand, we're in the best of times. We got better medicines, we got technology, we do things, and other times it's the worst of times. There's old school values that seem to have gone by the wayside, whatever that may be to you. But what's been your take? How do you thread that needle to break through the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, Gen Beta when they're coming up to make it make sense for them? Is there a one size fit all way, or is everyone different? Is it individual tactics? Like, how do you go about that when you coach?
I coach the individual completely. And I really make sure they know I care. And then also at the same time, as a coach, you have to be aware of how much this kid wants to pursue the sport. Um, not every kid wants to play in college. Not every kid wants to, make like dreams of playing pro baseball. Some just play because their mom or dad signed them up. So why would I yell at the kid who just is playing because he loves the game and he's not very good? The same way I'm going to yell at the kid who has, the opportunity to play at a high level. So it's all case by case, and I really try to focus on coaching the individual and getting to know these kids and like what makes them tick. Because some kids respond well to the challenge of like telling them that, like, you're messing up. Where other kids kind of need to be, hugged through it all. Like, a lot of kids have, verbally abusive parents. Like, it's like, if they're watching, they're gonna be mad about this, but I don't care. We verbally abuse the crap out of our kids. I used to do it myself until I became a little more self-aware. Um, and that's no way. Like, why are we? The world's gonna beat the crap out of these kids anyway. The world's beat the crap out of all of us. Why don't we start, like, in this generation, to me, is a lot more kind and compassionate. That's not weakness. Like, there's so much strength in that, but I think it's important to humanize yourself as a coach and as an adult. Um, and these kids know I'm not perfect. Like, I own every mistake, and because of that, they'll come to me and tell me things, and ask me for help in situations because they see me fail. They know I fail, but they also know I don't use that failure as a crutch or an excuse. It's just an opportunity to rise and become better.
I want to switch gears one sec, and ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in, this is a very special combination, if you will, of In the Booth, hosted by Flobo Boys, and the Black Baseball Mixtape, hosted by your guy Cheats. I want to switch gears because we have seen it. We talk about it. This is the whole genesis of kind of our platform here that we run, is to encourage our community to play the game of baseball. A lot of folks ask us, well, why don't black kids play baseball? And we tell them black kids do play baseball. But we, the numbers are the numbers. We see obviously less African Americans in the major leagues. We're starting to see more black players, black American born players in the college ranks. I do think NIL has changed a lot of that. I think the transfer portal has changed that. There's some accessibility things that we have seen that has been very encouraging. MLB drafts have been encouraging. Some of the minor league numbers have been encouraging. But when you take a step back, happy birthday again. You're 41 years old. So you take a step back. Why do you think the game and the majority of kind of the black community, especially in America, has kind of drifted apart, especially as we've seen after that, like that early 90s, there was that boom of Griffey, Bonds, Frank Thomas, and those guys. Then it was like wandering in the wilderness, and we still may be there depending on who you ask, but there's some players now that are getting people excited, especially some young players. But while the NBA really took off, and obviously the NFL is the NFL, why do you think there was this kind of chasm between baseball and our community?
I think a lot of it stems from, like, being priced out plays a big role in it. The local travel teams in my community are $2,500 just for the spring. That's an absurd number. Little League is not what it used to be. They're really not even that prevalent anymore. The space to have a baseball field isn't necessarily there in a lot of black communities. And to a lot of kids, it's boring because they don't have anyone teaching them it at all. Like, there's not that previous generation of baseball players and baseball history there. It's like, oh, my dad was a hooper, but he got jammed up with this. My dad was a beast at football, but he didn't. It's very rarely do you hear, oh, my dad was a stud at baseball. So if you're not getting it from the family generation, it's not in their algorithm. That's everything in today's world. And it goes to even in real life, like, we have algorithms, and if you're not seeing it, you're not going to know about it. But I think that's why it's important to find ways to get more involved, like, especially now that I'm at Lincoln University, and there's 50 African American kids on that baseball team, and it's literally 10 minutes from my house, and the majority of people in my neighborhood and in my town didn't even know Lincoln University was there.
Oh no, right.
It's crazy. And they're not the best team in their conference, but it's high caliber baseball, and it's baseball that's in your community. It's just, but it's because it's different. It's a louder brand of baseball. It's less traditional. So, and like, baseball's got all these unwritten rules, and it's just like, it's got such a negative stigma to it, to where it's almost like, just like, black kids don't play baseball. It's for little rich white kids and stuff like that. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Right. But I think it's important for people like us to, speak on it more and find opportunities to bring it into these communities more. I was at a school yesterday watching a basketball game, and just watching these kids play basketball and watching them play football. Some of them don't have the size to compete on the basketball court or football, but then you watch him move, and I'm just like, man, this kid would be a great baseball player.
Mm.
But will he ever get the opportunity? Because even in his high school baseball team, he's gonna if he went to try out, he's gonna show up with a glove that's not an A2000. You know, parents don't know to go buy a nice baseball glove, and like the world we live in is so materialistic. If you don't show up with the right bat, the right glove, and all the drip included with baseball now, you're a little bit embarrassed. So you know, if so, how can a parent from a low income neighborhood pay the $2,500 fee just to be on the team, but then you're just going to shell out another $1,000 to put stuff in your bag so you feel like you're a part of the team? I don't think it was on. Well, I hope it wasn't on purpose. But the world we live in, you just don't know. But I think that's why it's important to find resources and try to get in the neighborhoods. And it, like for me, it starts at wiffle ball. Like I try to get in these neighborhoods and just teach them wiffle ball. And you know, because they're also like fastballs are intimidating. So if you don't play baseball till you're in high school and you see that first fastball go by you at 75 miles an hour, you're going to think it's 150, and you dang sure don't want to get hit by it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Look out.
Yeah, it's scary.
I think there are forces at play, and Flobo, you can jump in on this too, because I'm interested in your take as well. I think there are forces at play that almost like when I think of it, I think of like gentrification, and what I mean by that, it's like, say there's a neighborhood, middle class neighborhood, maybe upper middle class neighborhood, and suburban America somewhere. First couple black families move in, fine, right? Couple more minority families move in, and you start to notice that just like the definition of white flight, the white people move further into the suburbs or wherever it is, and so individually by individually, it wasn't like, oh, it wasn't necessarily my intentions to change the kind of landscape and the makeup of this neighborhood, but you look 25, 30 years later, and that's what gentrification does, right? In many ways. I say that because I often think of that period of baseball where it's like, where, all of the systems got put in play, where it just seemed like the game was going away from urban centers. And I don't necessarily think that there was a conspiratorial grand plan, if you will, but I just think you looked up but I don't think there was nobody waving the white flag and saying, "Hey, look, this is changing," right? Like this is different, and it's going to cost us generations of baseball players. I don't think that was happening, but I think what you started to see was just this kind of slowly convergence of those kids that were in Oakland, or the kids that were in LA, or the kids that were in Chicago that, when their parents were growing up, were, you know, in the little league, where it was an all black little league in LA or an all black little league in Oakland. You started to see, and high school ball mattered a little bit more. I think gradually you started to see baseball become a game where it was like you were saying, like it's very the accessibility points were much more suburban, much more middle income, upper middle income. And you still see, I mean, even during that time, you still see some really talented players come out of there. But I think you just looked up one day, and there's like this generation, like you said, of dads and uncles and moms that were like, nah, we played hoops because that was what was here.
Yep.
Like, you ask a lot of guys, especially the Oakland guys, this was an old school, like, Dave Stewart, may rest in peace, Ricky Henderson type Oakland guy. And they were like, yeah, I was better. I might have been better at other sports, but everybody played baseball. That's what we did. So this, that's what happened. I also think too, Flobo, and I'm sorry, I won't filibuster. I'll let you go. It is proven too that there was a lot of financial, there like in 2026, Ricky Henderson would never be a baseball player. Ricky Henderson went pro because he could get drafted out of high school and he wanted to help his family. He was a better tailback, and he wanted to help his family, right? There's a whole lot of folks where it was like, Dale Strawberry, there's guys that were like, nah, I can get drafted out of high school, I'm gone. Now, you can make $3 million, $2 million playing college football, college basketball. You can make $5 million, $6 million. The guy at BYU is making like $7, $8 million, right? And it's like it just changed. All of this stuff changes the calculus of what we see. But I'm sorry, Flobo, what do you think? Because I thought it was more of a gradual. You looked up and it was like,
well, I mean, I got 2 coaches on the show, so you guys know on the ground. But my theory has always been this, and I want to hear your opinion, Coach, because maybe I'm just coming from like a layman's side. Was I'm about your age, and yeah, there were black players growing up. I was a Frank Thomas guy. I mean, to this day, whatever Frank Thomas does, I'll do. I mean, that's my guy, even though I'm a Mets fan. But I felt like in the mid to late '90s there was a shift. Between the strike of the 94 and the steroid era afterwards, it felt like baseball got caught exposed by putting these players, individual players, on a pedestal, and then said, you know what, we're going to go back to the sport of baseball just being just a nice value American sport. And so you didn't get that kind of individual access and spotlight. But at the same time, late 90s, you had Madden, you had the N1 mixtape tour. Like, it was flat. Everyone wanted to be Allen Iverson. Like, it was like those individual stars got pushed when baseball got kind of like back to its value. This is the way I see it. I think now is let the kids play. You see a lot more kids now. Kids have too much jewelry when they're playing baseball now. But I do feel that individualism is back, and that's really been part of our culture. No one wants to go and play a game where it feels like work. But I mean, I'm curious to see what you think about the situation.
No, I think that's actually a great point that I've never even really considered is, when baseball was booming, it was about, I mean, the individual players were getting the attention and they still played for their team. But then right when, that strike and all that other stuff happened, the individual and all the other sports started to really take off. You saw the N1 mixtape. Like, I was one of those kids and I wanted to be hot sauce and practicing moves to where I'm almost dislocating my hip. Yeah, like he was my favorite. AO was the man. And it's just a great point is like, as a young black male, I myself, went towards basketball because it was more about me. I could get all the attention. I could be in the spotlight to where when I played baseball young, like it was never about me, and call it egotistical, call it what you want. But like, even if you are playing egotistically, you're gonna give it all you got because you never want to look dumb. But then, like you said, they snatched that right out of baseball, and it came, all about the team, and like there wasn't any in the late '90s. You didn't really hear a lot about too many superstars unless they were getting federally indicted. And like, who wants to be a part of that? Like, I'm not going to play baseball. They're trying to lock up everybody.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, Keith, you remember when I was a kid, how Power Rangers came out and how there was like dojos on every corner, like out of nowhere. Like the kids were asking for it. They made them.
Look, I have so many questions. I have so many questions.
Power Rangers or what?
No. And forgive me for jumping all over the place, Coach, because your answers are fantastic. But I cannot help. And maybe we should think about this. Give you a minute to think about it and talk about something else. But I can't help but not seeing behind you. You've got Ali behind you. You've got Jackie. I have that exact same Jackie poster. I believe that's Willie Mays in there.
Yeah, and Clemente and Hank Aaron. And then a Hank Aaron jersey there.
What I want to know is your top 3 athletes of all time. Your top 3 athletes of all time. Because I see the wall behind you. It doesn't matter what sport. I just want to know who's in your top 3 and maybe an honorable mention. But I know I'm putting you on the spot. So maybe, Flobo, if you had something else while he's thinking about it. But I really want to know the top 3 athletes in the coach's pantheon there.
Oh, that's easy. They're all behind me.
Okay.
It'd be Hank Aaron. Like I got that jersey last year for my birthday. Hank Aaron, Kobe, and then Muhammad Ali.
Okay, so stop. Flobo, stop. I apologize, Flobo.
Why
I didn't mean to do this.
Those are good
I didn't
answers.
mean to do this.
Those are good answers.
They are answers.
Oh,
First of all,
wow.
No. Because I already tell Coach likes to mix it up. So I want. You said Hank Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
You said who's the third person?
Muhammad Ali and Kobe.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I thought I had it right too. You have 2 world-changing generational icons, and then you have like Kobe Bryant. I need you to explain, because you're a hooper, so I'm assuming the hoop thing is very high in your list. But Ali and Hammer and Hank are literally cultural icons, generational, life-changing, life-altering leaders in the sports landscape for our community and people. And then you have Kobe Bryant. Explain yourself.
Chase, I'm insulted for you.
See, of
man.
all them, Kobe is my favorite.
I'm figuring why, because you're a hoop guy. I'm figuring you're gonna justify how you're doing this.
So I caught the tail end of Jordan's career, but I was all in on Kobe. It was the peak of my basketball.
Right.
And then him as an adult, that Mamba mentality legitimately saved my life. The first thing I did when I woke up from my second transplant, I think I ordered $1,000 worth of Mamba mentality books on accident. Because I like, but it was so influential to me getting through what I got through. So to me, Kobe is a pillar to my success. I joke around and tell people, because he passed away in January 2020. I'm like, I got Kobe's liver. And that's why I'm able to do what I do. The Mamba mentality is like in me. So he's just, like, to me, he is a cultural icon only because I tried to play like him. I tried to act like him. I read all of his books, even the weird ones that are like Harry Potter.
Right.
Oh, I am deeply invested in Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality. It's like everything to me. So that's why, like,
you know what, Coach? You knocked that answer out of the park, because Flobo had to be personal for him.
No, but yeah. I'm just saying, we sat in his interview and he basically quoted chapter and verse the Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
Why Kobe? I'm like, come on, man.
No, I saw it. I didn't. I had questions.
That's fair.
As you talk about Hank Aaron and Muhammad Ali, I got questions.
I was going to see if you go to shade Muhammad Ali. I was waiting for that, but no, man,
no, I can't do that. Now, look. I'm gonna leave y'all with these gems, because you mentioned it already. Kobe's Mamba mentality book is fantastic. The Hank Aaron book by Howard Bryant. That is the book. If you have not read that, I believe it's like the last American Hero.
Okay.
You gotta read the Hank Aaron book written by Howard Bryant. Howard Bryant's got another book coming out in a couple weeks. It's in like a few days. That is the Jackie Robinson, Paul Robeson book. That's another story. But it's all going to be fantastic. Howard Bryant's one of my favorite writers. If you that Hank Aaron book, and then there's a book by a gentleman by the name of David Remnick. He's one of the best sports writers of all time, one of the best writers of all time. He writes a book, title this out, King of the World, and that is all about Ali. And it's not like Jonathan Ives wrote an Ali book that is like from cover to cover, probably the best Ali book. David Remnick wrote King of the World, which is a shorter period of time in Ali's life. But those are the gems. Fantastic. I can't do it with Kobe. I'm not there with Kobe. I saw Jordan too much.
That's fair.
I've seen LeBron enough.
I can't get down with that.
I can't do it with Kobe, but hold on, Flobo, I saw you there.
I thought LeBron's the greatest of all time, but that's another issue.
We could do a whole nother series on.
A whole nother podcast.
Longevity counts, y'all.
Who's your baseball? Before we get him out of here, who's your baseball GOAT?
I love Chipper Jones.
Okay.
So the reason but that's also personal. It's also personal. I grew up in Florida, in the next town over from where he was from, and he was just like, he was a man when during my most like into baseball time. So it's personal to that level. But like, if I had to pick someone like Chipper Jones, I guess Chipper Jones is more my favorite baseball player, but who I find myself gravitating towards the most is Ken Griffey Jr., just because he kind of really was just like, he was just that dude. And like, I get so sad about how injury prone he was towards the end, because he was just phenomenal. But like, so I love Chipper Jones from that personal element, but like, if I really had to sit down and like pick one or the other, I would probably side with Ken Griffey, just because I don't think he really got a fair chance to really show how great he was going to be.
Larry.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Mets guy.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like I like Chase Utley, Chipper Jones.
Nah, no Phillies here. I can't. I'm surrounded by Phillies fans. I can't do it.
No, fair enough. Yeah, just real quick. I know we're landing the plane here, but I saw that picture on Instagram with you collabing with Eric Sim, the king of JUCO. I mean,
Oh yeah.
how was that like, man? Just meeting an Instagram celebrity.
He's a lot bigger than you would think. He's a
Massive.
like, like I didn't think he was that big. It was really cool. So through social media, I connected with those Pottstown guys, CS99 TV, and they were doing a thing at a Ripken complex up the road from me, and I was like, so I sent him a message, and I brought a bunch of kids from my nonprofit out to take part in their camp, and Eric Sim just happened to be there, and he's a hard man to get time with because I mean he's such a big figure in the baseball world, especially on the youth, and like he is everything you see online. Like he really acts like that, which is really it's not any way I would act, but like I respect his authenticity.
Yes.
And the kids loved it. Like he was so interactive with my son. He was giving them nicknames. It was really cool to see. And it was also just a cool moment because now all the kids think I'm super cool because, I got to hang out with Eric Sim for a weekend.
I love it. I love it. Hey, look, that's what kids do. Kids are, association matters, and especially in this world. And I love it, man. It is. You just mentioned it, and you mentioned, what are being that your journey has been public, and it's been something where I do think it's an inspiration to a lot of folks. I know you say you kind of every once in a while you blow it off until recently, but I'm glad you don't because it is really a big deal. What's like the coolest thing that has been unexpected that you've gotten to do once people start to be aware of your story?
I think it's just the overwhelming support from my local community. So like I have this brand. It's called BROH, bravery, respect, optimism, honor, and you really can't go to a baseball game within 30 miles of here and not see something related to it. And it's really just teaching. And I don't sell it; I give it away.
Mm.
And I only do that because like I want these kids to understand like this is something you need to earn. I'm not going to give it to any, Joe on the street. Like if you're not living by these principles or at least trying to, I don't want you representing what I believe in. So that's probably like the coolest part. But another cool part is through all this, I got to talk to Chipper Jones on the phone once, and he sent me an autographed book, and that's another reason why I think he's great.
I like it.
Bias.
I like it. Oh man, Flobo, who would you want an autographed book from, Flobo?
Oh man, like they have to write that book or just sign a book that they did. If I get acknowledgement for Frank Thomas, I could probably like sign off and be like, I did my job,
Yeah.
But Coach, man, just hearing your story has just been, I mean, inspirational isn't quite the word because I feel like it's more than that. It's like you've done it, you keep on doing it. It looks like the beginning of the year, it's your birthday today. I mean, you got some plans, big plans for this year on the horizon as well. How do you keep moving forward? What's next for you?
I just took a position helping out at Lincoln University, and my goal is to not only be present for that and be a big part of helping them have a pretty successful season. I really want to start introducing the black baseball players to the community that I'm in that is not as colorful, but is starting to be more welcoming to the colorful style of baseball and athletics. So my goal this year is to really our my mantra for Bro is United We Rise. And my goal is to kind of unite the two worlds because there's no reason why there's not 50 kids watching Lincoln University play high quality baseball on a regular basis because it's 10 minutes up the road. But nobody knows they're there. And like, I'm excited to be able to bridge that gap.
Cheats, before we wind this down, have you come across the line? Are you Team Kobe now? I mean, I feel like I try, Coach.
No hesitation.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I like hoops too much. I mean, look, respect the man. Respect his game. He was a phenomenal basketball player. But I'm one of those guys, man, where he was just never my guy. Like he was just never my guy. And there's so much I think tragedy in kind of what ultimately happened because I do think his work was not done. I think there was so much more that Kobe Bryant was going to do if the tragedy hadn't struck the way that it had. And I was really interested. I will tell you this: I was much more compelled and second act Kobe Bryant, the Kobe Bryant that was off away from the basketball court. Than I was the Kobe Bryant on the basketball court. Now, I mean, I knew he was a stone cold killer, but you kind of knew what you were going to get on the basketball court. I think he surprised a lot of folks with all the activities he was doing off the basketball court. And so, yeah, he was just, you can never, I can't go back in time in that sense. He's just not my guy. The Lakers weren't my team.
Fair.
When Kobe and Shaq split, I was Team Shaq because I thought it was Kobe's fault.
It probably was.
And so there was just so much there. But I look, we're all around enough of the same age bracket, and there's so many hoopers. There's so many hoopers that came up in that like late 90s, mid 2000s. That was just like, I'm from Virginia. We had Iverson. That was like, Hampton, like Bethel, like high school, then went to freshman Georgetown. We had that Iverson. Then, you can just continue following out. So, but you played growing up in Maryland, not Philly, right?
Yeah, Maryland. Yep.
Okay, yeah, because it was like, Philly, there's a guy out there that was Tariq Evans.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, people sleep. Like, it was just different. Anyway, Flobo, take us home, my brother.
Sorry, man. Thank you so much for the time, Coach. Just chopping it up with you, learning the story, learn what's next is always a good time. But if someone's watching right now and they want to connect with you, to learn more about Bro, they want to follow you on social, how they go about doing that, how they go about linking up with you.
Everything's just Coach Aaron R. Spell it the way we're supposed to spell it. Aaron is probably what most people call me, but that makes it easier to spell it. Coach Aaron R on all the platforms, and my DMs are open. And if I can help anyone figure something out, that's what God left me here to do. So who am I to not fulfill that destiny?
I love the acceptance. It was mad at first. You're like, well, I guess I'm just Ron.
Sometimes you just gotta lean into it, man. It's like you can't fight it.
No, I got you, man. This is In the Booth / Black Baseball Mixtape presented by the Players Alliance and Numbers Game Scorecards. Please pick up a scorecard, support the platform as well. Cheats, I'm out. You out with me? Let's do this, man. Let's get out of here.
My brother. Appreciate it. And we'll